Allison Williams, before we let you go, we wanted to do a quick round of one of our recurring segments with you. This
Okay.
is our show and tell segment that we call Group Chat, which is about
Yes.
our group chats and the various things that we are discussing in them. So, Allison, what is your relationship to group chats? And is there one group chat in particular that you would like to shout out?
I was hoping we were going to do this because I literally just started a podcast that's basically about my group chat, a podcast that I made with two of my best friends from childhood called Landlines. The idea came from the fact that I formed a more intense version of my group chat from my childhood best friends when I was pregnant. And it has remained the go-to, much more like useful and personalized version of ChatGPT that we all use for troubleshooting everything from like adulting to parenthood to hormones, everything we're all going through at this stage of life. And so our group chat is on fire most days. Someone will be like, do I need this inflatable leg rest for my kid on a transatlantic flight? And then you'll get like a million simultaneous, like very, very opinionated answers. And then everyone will be like, but for you and knowing you and having known you for 30 years, yes. And here's why. And we thought, why don't we offer the caliber of conversation we have, like staying in a place of shame and loneliness and self-judgment about everything we don't do perfectly at this stage of life is so much easier if you don't have a group of people to talk to about it. Like, what kind of C-section recovery underwear are the best to everyone else out there in hopes that maybe it'll make them feel a little bit less isolated. And then, as you guys know, it was like a hack. We got to just like talk to each other for many, many hours on microphone and call it work. And now other people are sending me pictures of their C-section recovery underwear being like, look how big these are. And I'm like, they're the best. And so that is kind of the stuff that's going down in our group chat.
Well, given the title of your podcast,
Yes.
I'm sure you will have seen this by now, but the article that has been going around my group chats this week is an article about the return of landlines. Did you see this one?
Oh, it was much discussed, of course. Yes. It was, first of all, I am a proud owner of a landline. We love it.
Wow.
Our son loves calling my parents on the landline. He's like a David Mamet character on the phone. He picks up the phone, he calls them, he goes, hi, yes, hello, I'd like to come over. And then before they answer, he just hangs up the phone and then like moves on to the next thing. He's like very
sell 50
honestly,
shares.
Like, yes, it's like Glengarry, but in a 3.5-year-old body.
So this was a story in The Atlantic recently that's titled "The Dumbest Phone is Parenting Genius." And it is about a cluster of about 15 to 20 families in the South Portland neighborhood of Portland, Maine.
Where my two co-hosts live, by the way.
Really? Are they part of this? Are they part of this crew?
They're not, but they very well could be and may become part of this group.
So this is a group of about 15 to 20 families who have installed landlines and created what this author calls a retro bubble for their children, where they can call their friends without giving them smartphones. And this is sort of their way to address the worries about smartphones and adolescent mental health by giving their kids a way to communicate. And what did you think of this when you saw this? Did you think that's a great idea? I should do this? You already have a landline.
I do think it's a great idea. I never had my own landline. So my version of like really spoiling our kid would be to give him his own phone line, which would be like, was what I really coveted. I wanted like a Share from Clueless phone.
Yes.
I wanted my own landline. And then I'm like, let's go back to a family desktop in an open shared space. Let's go back to AOL Instant Messenger. Let's just go all the way back to like when my mom was looking over my shoulder at what my IMs with my like crush in middle school and giving me advice that I followed. And then he said, gotta go, bye, and signed off. It's too much for me. I am a public figure. With my full adult, nearly prefrontal cortex C closed brain, entered a field of work where I was going to be a public figure. And I had grown up around actors. I knew what fame looked like. I knew what it entailed. And I still cannot read comments. I can't handle it. I'm basically not on Instagram again, although I may go back, but it feels really scary for all of these reasons. The fact that kids at such a young age feel comfortable living publicly is fascinating to me. And I think some of them really can handle it, but I feel such sympathy for the ones that just can't. We're all wired differently. And having other options feels like vital. And it feels like it would preserve also this sense of the world is bigger than this object. The challenge, though, is that because we all know that leading by example is kind of the only way to do this thing, parenting, we then have to develop less of a dependence on our own phones.
Yes.
The challenge is to model that behavior and start detaching ourselves from these devices. And that is something that we try to police in ourselves, but it's nearly impossible because it's just like the grand central station of our lives is this like rectangle, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be the challenge.
I do think it's important developmentally for children to have to call the landlines at their friends' houses and like talk to their parents for like an agonizingly awkward 30 seconds.
Mr. and Mrs. whatever,
Yes.
and like memorize those numbers. I still have a totally unusable section of our podcast was us just like rattling off each other's phone numbers from childhood because all the phone numbers I remember are landlines for the most part.
Yep.
I know a few cell phone numbers just for emergencies, but like it's landlines that I know.
This sounds like a great like approach for kids like 5 and under. Man, I think once they get like 8 or 9, you're not going to be able to convince them that a landline is cool. Maybe you'll be able to, but it sounds like a stretch for me.
I think maybe trying to convince them that it's cool is the exact like opposite of the strategy. It's sort of like it is or it isn't cool. This is how you can get in touch with them if you want to. And that's it. And there you go. And if you're in a bubble of that, it feels like you can maybe make that argument. And then they'll see the kids at school with their cell phones and it'll be like junk food. When I was growing up, we didn't have like Dunkaroos in the house. And so when I went to my friends' houses, I just like overdosed on sugar and like came home like a crazy person. It'll be a little bit like that probably, but also how nice that they would just pick up the phone, have the conversation they need to have, put it back down, and then go back to whatever they were doing. That sounds pretty idyllic.
It does sound
to me.
lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't I tell you about the post that has been making the rounds in my group chat this week.
I can't wait.
This is from a user on X whose username is very difficult to say. I guess I'll say it. User 00100001010. Anyways, great
That's
username.
my bank password.
I think you just like launched a robot apocalypse or something.
And they just posted a screenshot of the words, "We literally watching thirst traps," followed by footage of war crimes, and then an ad for moisturizer, all within 30 seconds of each other. Tell me that's not causing irreversible brain damage. And the reason that this kicked off a discussion was obviously things are very crazy, but it also feels like it is impossible to just have a media diet right now that does not drive you insane. So I felt like this resonated with me. I'm curious if it resonates with you guys.
I'll go first with full entitlement. I'm just
No,
gonna
please
start
do.
talking.
You think I want to hear what Kevin says?
I do. I feel like I don't consume media like I used to. I don't have a good way of moderating it. So I just have kind of cut myself off from it a little bit, which is really strange because I used to be, even with a journalist dad and brother and former journalist and still like news junkie mom, I was like among the more informed members of my family for a while. I would listen to 13 podcasts every morning just about politics and just catch up on every like fart issued by the Trump administration, like every single thing that was going on. And I burned out and my mental health was suffering. I haven't quite gotten to a place where I could dip in and dip out. I somehow still know what's going on. I don't know how that's happening. I guess that just speaks to like how it's everywhere. And even if you're not looking at it, you can't avoid it. Like that tweet is saying, it's just not natural to have to contend with those different things so close on the heels of one another.
Yes.
It used to be, not to be like, the good old days were the best, but when it was 6:30, you'd turn on the nightly news, you'd see like Walter Cronkite, he would tell you what happened, and then you'd have dinner.
Yes.
Even the ads that played probably during that time felt intrusive, but to me, by contrast, that would feel so banal. I'd be like, oh, this is nothing. Show me the dryer I should get that ends my feminism. Like there's something about that I would love to return to. It's really, and this word is much weightier than this usage of it, but there is like a weird lack of consent to the kinds of things you're going to see and learn about if you're just scrolling. You don't get to sign on to AOL and listen to the dial-up. You don't get to, pick up a phone and dial a number. There's an amount of a breach of boundary that happens every day to all of us, with whether it's like alerts on our phone or just scrolling through something. Even if you think your algorithm is like, yeah, you only like watching people clean houses on TikTok. And then suddenly it'll be like, but also look at this genocide that's happening.
Right.
It's a privilege, obviously, to be able to opt into knowing about the harder things in the world. And I'm not advocating for not opting to know about them at all. I'm just saying that they're much easier to wrap your head around and even take seriously when you're prepared to consume them,
Can I tell you about a daily practice that I have tried in my own life that has really helped me with this feeling of like overwhelm. So every day I wake up and for at least like 15 minutes, I try not to look at my phone. Usually that ends up being more like 10 minutes. And it's not even like I'm meditating or reading a book or doing anything. I'm just like trying to not immediately start my day by plunging headfirst into like the absolute dopamine factory, trying to sort of wait until I can like compose myself and have a cup of coffee to like go gather the state of the world.
I want your phone. Mine is an adrenaline factory. What are you getting? You're just getting like texts from people that are like, "Good morning, be great again today."
I do actually text him that every morning. Yeah, I'm always telling him to be great.
Can you text me every morning?
Yeah.
Mine is just, that's such a good idea.
Well, I've been doing it for a grand total of like 3 days. So I'll let you know how it goes.
But that makes you, in Malcolm Gladwell's eyes, a full expert.
That's right.
Easily 10,000 hours.
That's true. That's true.
You're perfect.
Wait, do we have time to hear what's in Allison's group chat before she has to go?
We were all texting about one store that we used to go. This is so boring. I'm boring myself talking about this.
Tell us about the store.
We used to go. Okay, the store was called Havana Jeans. Shout out Havana Jeans. It's no longer there. It was in a strip mall in Stamford, Connecticut. Early aughts, late turn of the last century. The store was the place. I'm talking going out tops. I'm talking a low rise, very wide bell bottom jean. I'm talking lots of bleach everywhere on the jean in locations that don't make any sense and that nobody asked for. And we all lusted after this store. And we had one friend whose mom would just take her whenever she wanted. And it was so enviable. And we were all so jealous. We talked about it on the podcast. And then our group chat was again aflame with our still alive and still very real desire to go shop at this store that is no longer there, selling clothes we would absolutely no longer wear because it would expose at least 2 C-section scars in our friend group. It is a deep, deep desire to go back and shop at Havana Jeans that has been lighting our chat on fire. And so that is that's where we are currently.
Bring back Havana Jeans.
Bring back Havana Jeans.
You heard it here, please. We miss you. And the Havana was always confusing. We never asked questions about it. What was the Cuban?
Yeah, they were
how did they get the jeans out given the embargo?
I don't know. Maybe that's why they were all bell bottoms. They were like, we got them out back when we first got in
1962.
Maybe that's why they shut it down.
Yeah, they were like, we got what we need.
Let me just say, Allison, as another person who has also successfully monetized my group chat into a podcast.
Yes.
It is great in so many ways, but it also does make texting your friends feel like work. And so I should just warn you. We have
different verticals, so that's nice. We've created boundaries. Luckily, one of the 3 of us is a therapist, and so she knows how to model and like perform good boundary for our work friendship balance. So that is super helpful.
You're making me realize that my group chat with Kevin needs a therapist, so we're going to look into that.
You can recruit a therapist. Yeah. I'm sure Jamie would love to be on it, and maybe she'll be part of that South Portland landline group, and so you can really get that intel.
That'd be wonderful.
All right. Allison Williams, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I'm starstruck. Thank you.